Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Friendly Neighborhood Podcast. In today's episode, we are discussing our review of The Batman. Hello, everyone. This is the Friendly Neighborhood Podcast. I'm Kyle Swope, and joining me today is my co-host, Colin Donato. Today, as mentioned previously, we are discussing our thoughts on the movie The Batman. This is a big episode. That's why we have a new intro and everything. So, hey, it's going to be crazy. I'm in costume, so, no more lies. Colin, how you doing?
Too bad. How about yourself, Mr. I guess it's not Enigma in this movie.
It's Nashton. Edward Nashton.
Nashton, yeah, Edward Nashton.
I'm doing good. I'm unmasking right now because I don't want to do the whole review like this. I even made a little cap out of a plastic wrap too. Got to be accurate, you know what I'm saying? Actually, what I did is I made it out of plastic wrap, and then I used some clear packaging tape, and I put that on top of it so I can reuse it as a cap anytime I put the mask on.
Not sure what it was in the movie. They was it saran? Was it just saran wrap over his head?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, they couldn't use saran wrap, so they only referred to it as cling wrap.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But it's basically the same thing. So yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I got that. So hold on, I got this on Etsy, okay, for like $10 or so. So it wasn't that bad at all price wise. But then after I bought it, I went back and checked. And I bought it like the same weekend the Batman came out. And then I went back and checked after the weekend, and they jumped the price up to $15 because people were buying them now. So it's funny.
So many people bought this mask after the movie.
Oh yeah, I mean I don't blame them because it's cool. A little itchy, but it's cool.
Yeah, I myself, I'm wanting to buy a cowl, but those things are so expensive.
Well, and I had a Batman cowl too that I got for my birthday one year. The problem is I have a really big head, and my head would not fit in the cowl. And so it was really tight, and it was uncomfortable, and I was disappointed on my birthday. Fun story. We'll save that story for a story time episode. Just kidding. But either way. Alrighty, so, Colin, The Batman. I know your answer to this. The audience doesn't. Did you like the movie? And then just a quick statement, why or why not?
Yes. I love the more crime drama detectivist Batman we got in this movie as opposed to all the other ones. We've never I would say this is probably darker than the Dark Knight trilogy. At least edgier, I guess is the term that would be used.
Yeah.
It's definitely your edgier Batman, a more gloomy Batman in his early years that hasn't really adapted to having the Bruce Wayne persona that's kind of just stuck in only the Batman world and only cares about that.
Mm-hmm.
I love those elements of the movie. I like seeing an early Batman who's still struggling and kind of still isn't that great as Batman. Mm-hmm. As we see in the movie, kind of not sucks, but is still really unskilled.
Yeah, like a little sloppy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which I'm sure will prove in the next following movies.
Oh yes, which we are officially getting for a fact. We know that now.
It's 2 weeks ago, or
it was CinemaCon. I think it was 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. Yeah. At the time of this recording, anyways. 2-3 weeks ago, CinemaCon. So yes. Any more thoughts, Colin? I want to let you get out what you think you need to get out right now. So let me just give a little bit of context.
What you're gonna say?
Me and Colin already talked about this a little bit, but I intentionally wanted us to save most of our conversation about this for this podcast because this is probably going to be a really intense episode. So yeah. Did you say you had anything else you wanted to bring up before I give my?
No, I'm ready to hear everything that you're going to go into.
Okay. So here's where things are going to get really controversial. Everybody loved the Batman. I did not. Okay. I don't want to say I hated it or that it was bad per se, but I did not care for it. I was really disappointed leaving the theater. I actually saw this twice, so I pulled a note out of Colin's book and saw it multiple times in theaters with my own money, too. So I paid to see it twice. I think it was it the same? No, I think it was opening weekend, and then again. No, it was twice opening weekend is when I saw it. Yeah. And so let me explain. I came out of the movie being really disappointed, and I was texting Colin about it because we both saw it opening night, giving our opinions and stuff. And my problem is that all the things they tried to do to make it special were things that they've already kind of tried or done in other Batman stories, okay? And now Colin's rebuttal to that was, well, you got to look at it as its own thing and stuff. So as the weekend went on, I saw it on Thursday night, and then I saw it again on Sunday night. So, good 2-3 days of space for me to process. So going into it the second time, I went in with the mindset, I'm like, okay, let's try to take a back seat here and look at it from a strictly cinema movie type of perspective, not like viewing it as a Batman movie, okay? And it was a little better then, but I still didn't care for it a whole lot, personally. I don't know where to begin as to why, because, yeah. Do you have a place you want to begin, Colin?
How about the start of the movie? Let's just go through the whole thing.
Well,
we have 3 hours to look over.
The start of the movie, I think, was some of the best parts of the movie.
Oh, the first 15 minutes
Mm-hmm.
that's my favorite opening for a Batman movie.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think.
I love how they show the Riddler looking out, and then you have Bruce Wayne. He's giving a monologue, narrating over everything,
narrating his diary,
and then you see all of Gotham and the fear the criminals have just when they see the bat signal.
Mm-hmm.
Which I kind of love the fear that just the bat signal creates the criminals.
Yeah.
And just we get to see a bunch of Gotham and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to see a bit of Detective Batman.
Yeah.
But it's a cool opening. I love the dark gloom and the beautiful shots in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Let me say something quick actually before I dive into that beginning part. The thing specifically I like about it, and I'll tell you I liked about it. The cinematography was pretty nice. The score was amazing. That's one of the best Batman scores I think we've gotten for a movie. I really enjoyed that. And I have one big glaring issue. We'll get to that later. But overall, generally speaking, I liked the Riddler. Up until Act 3, which again, that's my glaring issue. We'll get to that eventually. So anyways, yeah, that's just kind of, those are my standout things. I had a lot of problems with a lot of other things in the movie, but we'll get to that. But yeah, the beginning of the movie, that whole part is really good. I don't know why, but for some reason, that movie has made me obsessed with the song "Something in the Way" by Nirvana.
Same. I think everyone has felt that after the movie.
So that's fun, and yeah, I don't really have any problems with that beginning opening part of the movie. Yeah. Should we? Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this up. My glaring issue. Okay, so obviously spoilers. So don't. If you haven't seen the movie, what are you doing here? Go watch it. It's on HBO Max. Literally, spend $15 and watch the dang thing. Anyways,
it's out on DVD in 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's the time of this recording. It's out in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it comes out May 24th. So
yeah. My big glaring issue at the end of the movie, okay, is that the Riddler's endgame makes literally no sense at all. Anyone can debate it, and it's still not going to make any sense to me because it's just that dumb, if you ask me. You know what I'm referring to specifically?
The huge just flooding the city?
Yes, the bombs. Does that make any sense to you?
I'm trying to think about how that does. Because his whole goal was just to show the filth and scum of Gotham politicians and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, actually, I think thinking about it, I think I'm gonna have to agree with you on that. Why to punish all of Gotham when your goal was to punish the people that were feeding off of the poor people of Gotham?
Exactly, because he goes.
That was the people he wanted to help.
Yeah, he goes from having now. Obviously, I don't quite agree with, why he's... Well, I don't agree with anyone killing anyone, really, for the most part. But, he goes from killing these people who, in some twisted form of logic, you can understand, deserve it, I guess. And then, at the end, he just blows up these bombs in order to kill everybody in Gotham, and it's what the heck? Why didn't you just start with that?
Yeah, that's why do all this and then
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's my single biggest issue with the whole movie is that plot did not make sense, and literally, I think after they caught the Riddler at the end, put him in jail, theoretically they could have just ended the movie right there. Um, Another problem I had is the movie is 3 hours and it feels like over 3 hours because it is so slow. The plot.
I wouldn't I say like like there's like parts where it like really leads up to like a lot builds up and then it kind of like slows down again. It has like highs and lows and how fast it goes.
Yeah, but like, let me put it like this: the Dark Knight trilogy. Those movies they weren't 3 hours, but what's the runtime of the Dark Knight Rises? Do you know off the top of your head?
Maybe like 2 hours 30 minutes. I feel
Yeah.
like it is. I know it's longer. It's a longer movie.
It's still pretty long. But I think, and again, I got to compare this to other Batman movies because they exist, and I have nothing else I can do. But like the Christopher Nolan Dark Knight movies, okay, they were able to have a runtime like that. But have you ever watched The Dark Knight Rises and you thought to yourself, this feels like a really long movie?
No, never.
Yeah. See, I don't either, and that's because I think the pacing is better in those movies. Whereas this one, I feel like the pacing is not very good, and it's generally very slow because it feels so long. Which brings me to another one of my complaints. Batman hardly does anything in the movie to progress the plot. His supporting cast is all the heavy lifting for him.
Yeah, Riddler's the only thing that moves the plot, really.
Exactly. And then, like, majority of the riddles are solved by either Alfred, I think Commissioner Gordon does one or two, and
Penguin pretty much
solves
with
one. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I can't, like, this, in my opinion, we're talking about, like, Robert Pattinson, because I know everyone asks me after I saw the movie, they're like, what'd you think of Robert Pattinson as Batman? And I kind of tell them, like, because he didn't really do much, so I can't really judge him as Batman yet, because he just kind of let things happen to him. I mean, like, yeah, in the final battle, he saves people, which is nice, but that's basically it.
I think kind of what they were. I don't know if this was their goal, but the way I look at it is like again, like he's a like he gets support about the people around him through like he's still like really inexperienced, so he's gonna need help, but he's kind of learning from others around him and stuff. That's what I'm kind of getting from it. Maybe is he still kind of figuring everything out as he goes along?
Mm-hmm. Well, see, my thing is, I still don't quite understand that dynamic because, if you ask me, I feel like Batman. So obviously, in Batman's origin story, right? He goes overseas, all these countries, and learns all these skills, comes back, and starts his Batman thing, right? So if he's doing all of that, you would think that he wouldn't need people to be holding his hand while he starts this whole Batman charade. Also, if he needs people to be holding his hand during the whole thing, then it doesn't make any sense because the legal system, although Gotham is very corrupt, the legal system is not supposed to allow vigilantes. So, like, for me, it doesn't hold as much water, in my opinion. I will say, okay, another thing I liked, Zoe Kravitz Catwoman, I thought she did a fairly good job.
I really liked her as Catwoman.
Mm-hmm.
I think out of the three we've seen, I have to say she's definitely probably the best so far.
Well, see, I'm very biased to Michelle Pfeiffer. Now, don't get me wrong. Comic accuracy, Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is not the most comic accurate, but that's on Tim Burton's behalf, not hers as an actress.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I guess it's just because that's so iconic, that kind of look and stuff.
Yeah.
But because the other Catwomen we got were the ones in the 60s, and now it's the 60s, so, you don't really think that highly of people who played the actors in the 60s. No offense to anyone. But Anne Hathaway's Catwoman was kind of forgettable.
Yeah, I honestly always forget when I watch that movie that she was Catwoman until she appears. I'm like, oh, she was in this movie.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, really, like her only competition was Michelle Pfeiffer, really. And Yeah, so I mean, it's debatable. Like, I respect the opinion if you think Zoe Kravitz Catwoman is the best Catwoman. I would still disagree, but I'm not gonna like think you're a terrible wrong person for holding that opinion type of thing.
Definitely the most comic accurate we've gotten because I do like how they adapted from the Long Halloween, how she was related to
Carmine Falcone.
oh his name Falcone. Yeah,
Oh,
Falcone.
that's another thing. And so there are two names in Batman lore that everyone everywhere pronounces differently all the time. One is Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, but he was not in this movie. The other one is Carmine Falcone or Carmine Falcone. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I don't know why, but anytime I see those names brought up, I keep thinking to myself, okay, so is it officially pronounced one way or the other? You know what I'm saying? They went with the Falcone pronunciation in this one, but every other Batman thing, except for Gotham, I believe, pronounced it Falcone.
I honestly just I say it differently pretty much every time I say it out.
Mm-hmm.
Like same with Ra's al Ghul. I'll just
Mm-hmm.
interchange them all the time
Yeah.
because I guess they haven't really set an official way to say it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think they. Well, I'm waiting for them to do that, but they haven't. And so I kind of find it annoying though, because like when I was watching Gotham and they pronounced it Falcone instead of Falcone, and I was used to hearing Falcone, it confused me a few times because I'm like, wait, so is this the same person as the other guy and stuff?
Yeah.
And then like with Ra's al Ghul, now I always pronounce it Ra's al Ghul just because that's the way I read it. I read it and it spells Ra's al Ghul to me. Um, Again, in certain, I think in the Dark Knight trilogy, don't they call him Ra's al Ghul?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, and then in like Batman the animated series and stuff, they use Ra's al Ghul.
And in Arrow, don't they use Ra's al Ghul also?
Good question. I don't remember that off the top of my head, but yeah, there's a good chance they do. But anyways, yeah, now we're getting on a little bit of a sidetrack tangent. But yes. I think what else interesting happened in the movie that's worth talking about. Because I got a lot of my biggest issues out of the way.
I liked Falcone. I like the guy who portrayed him. He was in Transformers. I can't think of the actor's name. I like the actor who played Falcone. I can't think of his like I said I can't think of his name. That's gonna bother me now.
Mm-hmm.
I think you get a good job of like representing an Italian mobster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have no complaints about that. I mean, I think the acting in general in the movie was fine. I have no issue with that. One thing I do want to point out that is not one of my issues that a lot of other people I've heard online have issues about. You mentioned with Bruce Wayne and stuff. And yeah, Bruce does not really have his Bruce Wayne persona made up in this movie. And a lot of people have a problem
It's pretty
with
much
that.
just Batman.
Yeah. See, I don't take issue with that really because it's an early Batman story and I totally get what they were going for in terms of trying to make it, what's the word? Different cuz yeah, he has to build that persona.
But I don't. Who knows if people can get that in this series? It could just be only Batman. But you can't really have Batman without Bruce Wayne. And my guess is how like at the like not I don't even that probably wasn't midway through the movie, maybe like a worse of the way through the movie, how he's at the funeral for the mayor.
Yeah.
And the I guess mayor elect
Mm-hmm.
is like guys talking to Bruce Wayne. It's like trying to reach him to get in touch about helping the community. I'm guessing that'll probably lead in to him doing that in the second one after he learns about his father's mistakes.
Yeah.
After Batman became like a symbol of hope, he's like, oh, maybe Bruce Wayne can also be like a symbol, something like that, more in the light than in the darkness.
Well, okay, so that reminds me of another complaint. So there's this whole kind of, I almost want to call it a B plot going on with like the mayor election happening. And I really did not think that was handled well because there is this mayor-elect who we're supposed to like. I get the impression we're supposed to like her. What's her name again? Shoot. I can't remember. But it's got, I feel like they make some almost like puns with her last name.
With her election campaign, there was
Yeah. Well, anyways, is it real? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
Yes,
it's,
a real
it's something's
change.
real.
That's right.
Yeah, a
That
real
was
change.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyways, yeah, they don't really give you any reason to like her, but it's like I feel like we're supposed to because, again, spoiler alert, she gets shot at the end. Now she survives, but she still gets shot. It's like, am I supposed to care about this character?
There wasn't enough of her. She wasn't really in it very much.
And that's a complaint.
And also, I got annoyed when she just goes out on the stage after, not Commissioner, I guess Lieutenant Gordon he is in this one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just like, don't go out there. And she's like, you're not gonna, she goes out there anyway. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
And then she gets shot. You didn't listen. And the guy knew what he was doing.
I was like, she was so stupid for that. If she was in the movie more and had like more, I guess, moving dialogue, because all she did, she was at the funeral and really just the election thing. I think that was the only 2 times you really see her.
I believe
and on the TV at the beginning.
Yeah.
During the debate. If she was in it more, I feel like it would have mattered more, but...
Yeah, exactly. Because that didn't matter to me, and when everything happened, it's like, I really don't care a whole lot about this character, so I'm not really affected by any of that, and I feel like they missed the mark on that, because I think they were trying to do that. But another thing, too, I noticed, so, kind of piggybacking on what you said, I know you mentioned, Bruce Wayne being different in the sequel and stuff like that, and that's a big problem I have with movies, because a good movie should be able to stand on its own. Not saying that there aren't prequels and sequels and that it can't happen, but I feel like this movie, and that could be one of the things, it just said a lot of stuff, and to me just felt like they're going to pick it up in a sequel somewhere, which is the same complaint a lot of people had about like Batman versus Superman, for example. Which I totally understand. And I think Zack Snyder's trilogy of Man of Steel, BVS, and Justice League are great. But they did have that problem. I blame the studio. I always blame the studio for that type of thing. But yeah, that's another issue that I also took with the movie. One thing, too, I remember when me and Colin were texting shortly after the movie. There was one, I think they wanted it to be a plot twist, and I just kind of thought it was but it was the Wayne family being not 100% on the straight and narrow kind of thing. Not necessarily corrupt, but...
Like you said, the Telltale game did better. And after... so actually I had it on my PlayStation 4. And I was like, okay, I never finished playing through it, so I was like, okay, I'll see if I can get to this point. And I did really like the twist in that game. They did handle it very well in that.
Yes.
And I guess just like in that, they're not like super bad people. It's like in the Batman movie, Thomas Wayne made a slight mistake. Like he got into a bad situation. He was at a low I guess we don't really find out who killed the Waynes in this.
Yeah. Well,
it's either Maroni or Falcone.
I thought we knew that Falcone ordered it.
Well, that's what Alfred said. He said he never knew for sure.
Didn't he admit to it though?
I don't think so.
Oh, maybe I forget.
Because he said Maroni. He said Maroni, like he was afraid. Maroni was afraid that Falcone had Thomas Wayne in his pocket, and that's why he went out to kill him.
Yeah.
And then Alfred's was like, Thomas Wayne was threatening to go to the police to Falcone, and that's so we never get a clear answer. He killed the Waynes.
Okay.
But yeah, it was kind of a twist.
Well,
it was also in the trailer. I feel like it was in the trailers a lot too.
I remember leaving the theater and thinking, okay, so Falcone did it. But I mean, I guess now that you bring it up, it's not as black and white as I initially thought. But anyways, yeah. And like I said before, the Telltale series did the whole Wayne family thing so much better. And that's part of my biggest problem with the movie in general. It's just, it did so many things that other Batman stories already did and did better. And so for me, it just didn't feel really special in that regard. And then another point I really want to make too, because whenever someone asks me my opinion on the movie, like in person, I always tell them this is my quick answer. But if you look at it in terms of a like gritty crime thriller movie, and I'm talking about movies like Seven, Taxi Driver, Zodiac, those type of movies. It's good. I mean, it's not fantastic, but it's, I think it's fine. But as a Batman movie, that's where I have all my problems because I feel like it just did not handle its material very well, personally. So anyways.
Do you want to talk about the characters? Because
Sure.
I wanted to talk all about the characters because I love the characters in this movie a lot. Especially the actors that play them. I love everything Jeffrey Wright's in.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Jeffrey Wright is in it, I'll watch it and I'll love it.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably, at least right now, one of my favorite actors.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved him as Jim Gordon.
Yeah. Well, I thought he did fine, Jim Gordon, but I don't know if I've ever actually seen Jeffrey Wright in anything before, or if I did, I didn't know it was him.
I don't think you ever watched. I guess you haven't watched Westworld.
No.
And then of course he's the Watcher in What If. He voices the Watcher.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And he's in the newer James Bond movie with Daniel Craig. He's in those.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
But I think he did a really good Jim Gordon.
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess he's not. Well, Commissioner died, Commissioner died in this movie.
Yeah.
So I guess of course that's setting up for Jim Gordon to become Commissioner because he's Lieutenant right now.
Yeah.
But I like how we already have even before the movie, him and Batman already have a relationship set up. Obviously, Gordon has like the makeshift bat signal and everything, and I like how we see them work together a lot.
Yeah.
Which we did get that in the Nolan trilogy, but I feel we never got them directly working together. In this, we got them like working hand in hand, which this Batman was based off like partially off the Long Halloween, which that happens in the Long Halloween storyline with Harvey Dent and Gordon and Batman all working together.
Yeah. See, my only thing with that though is, if you ask me, I don't think it makes sense for Commissioner Gordon, or Lieutenant, I guess at this point, for Gordon and Batman to be working together hand in hand, because the fact that Batman is going about justice illegally. So in my opinion, like the Dark Knight trilogy handled that better because it was more under the table, because they were not actually supposed to be working with each other, if that makes any sense. And the thing that I think is really rough, too, is because the last solo Batman movies we've gotten were the Dark Knight trilogy. And, they're one of the greatest film trilogies of all time, not just as a superhero film, but as, a movie in general. So it's like, following that up, it kind of makes sense that I was disappointed in this movie. Because those movies were just so well done. So I guess
Batman on a high pedestal. Like it's going to be hard to top those three movies.
Oh yeah. And I think a lot of my problems stem from the fact that because I knew the Dark Knight trilogy was so good, I was expecting them to do something really different with this movie. And like they kind of did, but they didn't at the same time. And that's kind of what left me the most disappointed, I guess I would say.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, I do agree that the characters are really good. I mentioned I loved Paul Dano's Riddler. We talked about what's her face? Zoe Kravitz. Yeah.
And then of course Colin Farrell as the Penguin.
Yes. I have some interesting takes on that, but I'll let you talk first.
That was some of the craziest makeup I've ever seen to make a person.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't recognize it's Colin Farrell because he doesn't have his accent.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even talk in like his normal, like I guess American accent. I guess you would say that he does in movies.
Yeah.
He has what is the Penguin supposed to be? It's supposed to be some sort of accent, isn't it? I guess.
Well, the Penguin's always played with an accent, but the type of accent and voice people use kind of changes.
It's never some I don't mean. But I like the accent he has for the Penguin. I love the look of the Penguin. I like how he's not just like the short little stubby guy. He's like a tall, like just bigger man with a like hook like penguin nose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he's kind of menacing.
Mm-hmm.
He's might be my favorite Penguin we've gotten so far.
Okay. Well, so here's kind of my different take. So obviously the prosthetics for Colin Farrell, That is some of the greatest. I think it might even be the greatest makeup I've ever seen in a movie, because that was fantastic. So good.
It was, oh my gosh.
Really good. However, where my opinion is going to differ from yours is, now I think Colin Farrell, he played it fine, I guess, but I prefer your short, stubby, awkward-looking penguin, because he gets the name Penguin because he looks like a weirdo.
Yeah.
And so when you take that away, it's like, well, why is he called the Penguin? Is it just because he's fat and he walks with a limp? It doesn't make as much sense to me, I guess. And that's another thing too. For some reason, I compared this movie to the show Gotham a lot. I don't know why, but the Penguin we got in Gotham, I forget the actor's name, but I sort of have the same issues with Colin Farrell's Penguin as to do with that Penguin, because they just don't seem like the Penguin to me. What I would really love is, I would love to see them bring, because I think the perfect casting for the Penguin was Danny DeVito.
I do like the Danny DeVito Penguin because he's such a weirdo, and
Yeah.
which is what like you said, like the Penguin pretty much just a weirdo,
Yeah, definitely.
a weird looking.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because, I brought up Batman Returns earlier with Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, and Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman and Danny DeVito's Penguin sort of have the same reason, if you ask me, why they are not the ideal versions, I guess. It's just the thing that they're just too Tim Burton-esque and a little too supernatural and weird, which, don't get me wrong, I love it, but in terms of accuracy to the comics, like the casting for both of those characters was perfect. It's just the way that they were represented were not.
Was very poor.
Yes. So, I suppose I would say the comic representation was better, although I still have that issue with just not liking the Penguin's character design, I suppose, if that makes any sense.
The Penguin in this movie kind of reminds me, not the look, but how the Penguin in the Arkham games is.
Yeah.
He's like a big crime boss and stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, like,
I also
I think that's how the Penguin should be represented.
Yeah, I think he fits as a good crime boss.
Fit the role, personally.
Yeah. I guess it would kind of look I feel like it would look kind of stupid in this universe, I guess, to have a short little guy like just be the I feel like it would just look goofy.
Yeah. Well, again though,
in this tone,
that's also why I like the other Penguin, because he looks goofy, and that makes sense why they call him the Penguin, because he somewhat resembles a penguin.
That's true. Yeah, I guess the only thing that resembles a penguin him in this movie is his nose, maybe. It is kind of the when you're looking at a suit
too.
Yeah, he does I guess his tallness and and weight kind of resembles a penguin.
Yeah,
and he does. Well, of course, we see him waddle at one point in the movie, which I guess is a slight nod when he's all handcuffed up.
Yeah,
and then one of the best scenes in the movie, of course, has the penguin in it. Like maybe the best scene in the movie, the car chase.
That was pretty good.
And of course, then the interrogation after that. I love the interrogation with Jim Gordon and the Batman when they're talking to the penguin, and they can't. It's the El Rada, and they pronounce it wrong. He just calls them out for their Spanish.
Exactly.
That might have been one of the first times I laughed out loud in a movie. I just thought that was so funny for some reason.
Yeah, we'll see. And that kind of ties back into my previous point, though, because Batman, he should be the one solving these riddles, because he should be. Now, I understand if Alfred's helping him, so at the beginning with the first big riddle that they're working on, I don't have any issues with Alfred helping him figure that out. But then the fact that the rest of the riddles in the movie, I mean, wasn't one or two of them that Batman actually solves himself?
I'm trying to think of all the riddles. The first one he solves. The one with the DA he solves.
Remind me which one that was.
That's the one when he's FaceTiming Riddler on the phone, it's duct taped to his hand.
Yeah.
He solves all three of those.
He solves the thumb drive.
The thumb drive, yeah. And then he messes up the maze. Alfred helps him solve the maze one, and that's messed up with the Spanish. I think, was that the only three riddles?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, I mean,
of course, the last one with the carpet tool.
Yeah, which Batman didn't solve. The other guy did.
It was Martinez, I think, was the
Yeah, that sounds right.
house name.
Cop.
It was just he was like that's a Tucker, and he's like, what? He's like, a carpet tool.
Mm-hmm.
If he would have said that like a little earlier, they could have prevented the whole Gotham being flooded.
Yeah, the whole last plot point that made no sense. Yeah, but anyways. Now, here's one thing I want to talk about, actually, before we move on from this specific topic of characters, okay? Because we get to see him for a little bit in the movie, and then there was that deleted scene that was revealed when I was, fun fact, at Disney World, and I watched it in the park. But Barry Keegan's Joker. What did you think, first of all?
Well, what bothered me is when watching the deleted scene, I hated how his fingers looked, how like scarred his fingers were.
Mm-hmm.
But I like how creepy it was.
Mm-hmm.
Like his Joker seems more like I think it's supposed to be a serial killer Joker,
Mm-hmm.
and it's also at least what has been I think confirmed that he was like one of the first people Batman encountered in his like early years. So far I don't like his laugh.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really like his laugh in the end credit scene, but the deleted scene, I'm glad it wasn't in the movie. But I liked how it was added on. I kind of liked it. I'm kind of interested what there is with this Joker that's going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
I like how he's more creepy. He's more dark. I think it could be a really good take if they're going to do it right.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it's going to be different from what we've gotten.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think Barry Keegan's Joker, from what we've seen, I love it. I love him as the Joker. I think it's great casting. And from what we've seen in the movie, plus the deleted scene, I think that it is going to be a really good Joker interpretation. So I'm really looking forward to that. However, my only problems come down to his character design in terms of how he looks and style. Because he is very ugly and not in a good way, if that makes any sense. I mean, the Joker is supposed to be ugly, but
yeah,
like I take too many issues with. He looks way too scarred up for no apparent reason, and to me, it feels like they're just trying to make the most edgy Joker they can, and that's not necessarily a good thing, if you ask me.
Yeah,
I think if they want to do a Joker, they should not that they shouldn't make him edgy, but don't make him look the way that he looks, because he looks like he's half bald.
His hair is like all scraggly.
Exactly.
What I've heard is I think that's supposed to be like he was burn victim.
Yeah, I heard something.
And that's
like that.
what it was. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's like. I don't think that's a real confirmation thing. That like when he encountered Batman, like he was burned or something. I don't know if maybe that'll be confirmed in a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
But you can definitely tell he looked like he was burned.
Yeah.
So that's most likely the reasoning of all the scarring.
Something like that. I think it could have potentially. I mean, if we're going by the iconic Red Hood origin story, if they're following that, could have been burns from the acid that he fell into.
Yeah.
That's always potential,
Which would
I guess.
explain the hair and the fingers and basically his whole appearance.
Yeah. But again, here's one thing I liked. I liked it in the movie, in the scene that they used. They did not explicitly show Joker's appearance. Because that signals to me that, hey, that means that they are either A, still working on it, but now knowing that they actually did make the whole thing, we saw a good few glimpses, not a whole big picture, but
we haven't seen like the whole face or anything.
Yeah. I just know that this is not the final look for Joker. I'm really glad because I absolutely hate the like design and prosthetics and stuff. I really want them to do something different with that. And honestly, like, for Joker, there's a lot of creativity they can use in changing his design, I think. Because if you sit and think about, the classic Joker origin story, where he just kind of looked like a clown all the time, and then you contrast that with the, again, I'm going back to the Dark Knight here, with Heath Ledger's Joker, where he's just got the scars and the makeup. There's a lot of things they can do. I really don't want them to settle with this design, because I do not like it. But anyways, I mean, I digress. But either way, Barry Keegan as the Joker, I think is fantastic.
And he's a really good actor. From what he was in. Oh, there's this movie with Colin Farrell he was in that I really liked him in.
He was
It's an
in
A24
Eternals.
movie. I can't think of the title. I liked him in Eternals.
He was probably my favorite.
He was one of my
character in
favorite
Eternals.
parts. Yeah, he was probably my favorite character in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's the only thing I've seen him in.
I can't think of the one. It has him and Colin Farrell, and I can't think of the title.
Which I don't know if I've actually seen anything with Colin Farrell in. I know there's like at least one thing I remember seeing that had Colin Farrell in before the Batman. Can't remember what now.
He was in the first Fantastic Beasts movie. I don't know if you've seen that.
No, I've never seen that. I've never been into Harry Potter or that type of
I'm trying to
stuff.
think. I can't really think of other Colin Farrell movies. Like I know I've seen, like you said, I know I've seen him and you've seen him and stuff, but
I feel like it was some type of like kids movie almost, but I can't explicitly remember.
I'm not sure.
Weird. One thing, by the way, I noticed about the Batman I want to bring up is that now there might be a little bit of debate here, but he never uses a batarang in the entire movie.
Yeah, except he has. I guess that's not really. I guess it's not on his chest. Isn't really a batarang. It's just a blade. Yeah, it's way too big. It's huge.
Yeah,
and he uses like cut the tape going into the door, but
well, then he cuts the wire with it at the end when he's hanging on the thing.
Yeah, I'd say maybe that's supposed to be an early model of a batarang. He hasn't like fully developed because obviously he doesn't have a lot of gadgets other than one thing. One thing I thought was really cool: the eye like camera.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was so cool. The technology for that, and then of course, I love how this like in of course the Nolan trilogy is supposed to be more realistic.
Mm-hmm.
And like we have this Batman and the Batman making stuff by himself, like the car, which is my favorite Batmobile because it's actually just a car. It's not like some insane car or a tank, or it's actually a car, not something. It looks awesome. Every scene with it is so cool. Even though there's really only one scene with it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, see,
but that one scene with it is awesome.
Yeah, for me, I kind of consider the new Batmobile. It's like just like a midterm Batmobile for me. Like it's not the worst, but it's not the best. Just because I don't know. I think, and that's because it's just a car. You know, because when I think of the Batmobile, I think of like it's a car, but it can do all kinds of crazy, weird things that most cars cannot do. And this one, I mean, it was crazy fast, and you can see its crazy suspension and stuff. So it was a really souped up car, but other than that, it didn't seem that special, I guess.
Yeah, I don't. It seems like it's not finished. Because we see him working on it, like in the beginning of the movie, it's not finished yet. So obviously, when we see it first used in the movie, it's probably the first time it's been used in general.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it's. Because I'm not sure if it stalled out when he was going after the Penguin, but that's what it seemed like. I don't know if he purposely stopped it, but it just seemed like it stopped itself.
Yeah.
So it'll probably improve. It'll most likely improve since it was very early stage Batmobile.
Well, and then like it is comic accurate though that because he's always improving the Batmobile or making new models of it. So I'm sure the next Batman movie we get in this franchise, I'm sure we're gonna have some. What's the word? We're gonna be able to see the Batmobile again, but different, improved, and upgraded. So this is not in its final form.
I feel like in the next one, because of course, as we know, like you said, this movie should be able to stand on its own without like a sequel. But they had. It seemed like they had planned for this to be a trilogy from the start. Like I think that was announced it was going to be a trilogy. Like I think that was the whole plan from the beginning.
Yeah.
But this is an origin for like everything. Like it's an origin for the Penguin, Jim Gordon, Catwoman, the Riddler. Like a whole even like origin for all of his gadgets and stuff. Like one thing I loved is how he totally failed with his like flight suit or whatever.
Yeah.
And how when he shoots that out, he just crashes. I don't know how he survived that.
Yeah, there's a few things that I don't know how he survived. Like the bomb at the funeral.
Yeah.
Like realistically, like he would be losing all type of, because the Batman cowl, right? He's got this little chin area, that would be like really screwed up at the very least.
Well, obviously, Batman has plot armor in every movie he's in, so.
Yeah, I know. So, anyways, yeah. And then like another
I
thing.
do like a lot of the.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I like a lot of the early gadgets we see, like the eye thing, the Batmobile, the flight suit. There's not very much more, I guess. Oh, how he just keeps adrenaline on him. Everyone's saying it's Venom, but I'm pretty sure that's clearly just adrenaline.
Yeah. Well, I think
that he carried on him.
I think the Venom theory is actually really interesting because, really, because they don't say exactly what it is. I think we're supposed to assume that it's adrenaline. So I'm not completely knocking out the idea that it is Venom. I think that would make for a really interesting plot when they continue the story.
Yeah, how that would be. I guess that could be a good way to introduce it. How like this new steroid is going through the market.
Yeah,
which I guess they could do. I know there's a storyline where Batman's like addicted to like drugs, but they could do that in the sequel with just him like using the venom after getting injured. But that should be interesting to see.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then that would be a great way to set up Bane as a villain too. So a whole redemption arc where Batman has to get off Venom and stop using it as like a cop out, and then you have Bane who is using it. So you have this like freshly detoxed Batman going against Bane, who was using the very drug to beat him that he was using.
He would obviously know the weaknesses of the drugs and be able to use his mind more to defeat them.
Exactly.
Than his muscle. Which I think would be an awesome. Seeing a accurate Bane would be really cool.
Yeah.
Because of course the Tom Hardy one was nowhere close to accurate.
Yeah.
And then even the one we got in
Batman and Robin.
Batman Robin, yeah, it had the brute down, but it was still not Bane at all.
Yeah. And like yeah, so it would, I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential with that, and if that is the Venom, I think that would be really cool to see eventually. But then again, we don't have any reason to believe that it is actually Venom that he used.
Yeah, and I know you've probably seen it, how everyone wants Mr. Freeze for the next movie.
Yeah.
I've seen that everywhere. I don't know how that started or why it started, but everyone just wants Mr. Freeze for the next movie for some reason, which would be awesome. Would be awesome to see a good Mr. Freeze. Obviously, we've already gotten the best Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger, baby.
But it would be cool to get a good Mr. Freeze. But there's so many Batman villains they could use. Like they don't have to use one they've already used. Like I have a feeling Joker's not gonna appear in the next one. They might save him for a third movie.
Yeah.
Same with Riddler, probably won't return to the next movie or third movie.
I really think it would do them best to save the Joker for last. But then also have some type of plot going on with him, so we can see that Joker is scheming or plotting something throughout the other. Because they're not just going to make just 2 more movies and call it a trilogy, because they're developing like HBO Max shows and stuff like that. So it would be cool to see during all of this stuff, Joker seemingly like hatching a plot and scheme, because we saw him trying to get friendly with Riddler. So that way it would be a big finale. That's what I'm saying. Batman versus Joker. Icons. So yeah. So like, well, let me just say overall in general, because as I've expressed multiple times in this podcast, I was very disappointed with a lot of facts in this movie. However, I look at the potential of the series, and I think this still could be really good. So I'm still optimistic about what Matt Reeves and everybody is going to put out. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. I just think it started on a really poor note, if you ask me.
Yeah, I have really high hopes for Matt Reeves. I love Dawn of the Planet of the Apes by him. Or maybe is that the first? No, I think he did Dawn. Okay. Yeah, Dawn and War for the Planet of the Apes by him. War is one of the best movies I've ever seen, and that's Matt Reeves. Fantastic. Cloverfield's another really good Matt Reeves movie, and he's done really good stuff, and I think he could definitely do great with another Batman movie. And he seems to really love the source material too.
Mhm.
He seems to be someone that's like actually looking into the comics, getting stuff from the comics, other Batman things. Unlike a
Yeah.
lot of superhero directors who don't take as much from comics and kind of just don't ignore the comics.
Mhm.
But it's obvious Matt Reeves cares about the source material he's getting it from.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of Easter eggs that are really deep Batman cuts in the movie too. Um, like I think it's only in Earth 1, if I'm not mistaken, that, and I could be wrong here, so don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure in that story, uh, that is where they get the idea of Martha Wayne being a Arkham originally. Um, and just things like here and there, you know. So it's obvious he's done his research. Um, but then again, me being a college student, I do my research on things all the time, but that doesn't mean my paper is gonna get a good grade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, I'm so optimistic and I'm busting on it a lot, but that's just kind of me being a diehard, lifelong Batman fan.
And it's like you said, it is hard to like when there's 80 years of Batman to compare this to.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a character this old, it's so hard not to compare it. Like I had trouble not comparing it because I think it's almost on par with Batman Begins
Mm-hmm.
for an origin Batman movie. Like I think it's better than Batman Returns, maybe on par with Batman 1989.
Okay, see, that's where I'm going to debate you here because I was thinking if I were ranking the Batman movies, now I kind of want to do a separate video where we do that, so I'm not going to give all my ideas right here. But this movie specifically, I would probably put it at like the worst of the good Batman movies. So like, if we take like Batman and Robin, Batman Forever. So like if these down here are like the worsts, this would be the first one that I would consider being all right. You get where I'm going with that? You kind of get what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where I would put it. Again, I'm beating on it a lot. I know a lot of people aren't going to like that, but then again, I have a lot of hot takes, and this is an episode full of hot takes. So, anyways, do you have any more thoughts, Colin, or should we get to the rating?
I feel like we didn't talk about Robert Pattinson enough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I brought up previously, I just feel like I don't feel like me personally there's a whole lot to talk about because he didn't do much in the whole movie. I mean, we got to see the moody Batman, and I really liked the detail that they had the eye makeup that he wore. He liked listening to Nirvana, but like again, he really did not do a whole lot in the whole movie.
I mean, I guess I kind of see that he definitely did have, like you said, that kind of had his hand held a lot throughout the movie. But he also did a lot on his own, like especially mine's living right now. Oh, when he's not like the club stuff. I like the investigation into the club and everything. I love all those scenes when he's like in the and there's Batman just beating the crap out of people.
Yeah. Well, I found that
I think he did
I found that kind of weird, and let me tell you why. Because, like, you think when he's getting into the Iceberg Lounge for the first time in the Batman suit, Batman like never uses the front door. So like,
that was a little weird.
He's still like a younger Batman, but you kind of think that with all of his training and that we would still has, that should be kind of obvious.
I guess he was. Well, he didn't seem like he was trying to like break in or anything. He just wanted to talk to the Penguin.
Yeah, but I mean, well, that's another thing about Batman too that I feel like was kind of weird in the movie. So I have always pictured and seen Batman. Now, obviously, in like the 70s and earlier, it would be a little different. But at least like more modern Batman, if he needs to talk to someone, you always see him just kind of like showing up in like the shadows somewhere because he gets in unconventional ways to talk to someone. Where going through the front door is the most conventional way possible. So that just seemed really weird for me. Now, when Bruce Wayne went to go talk to Carmine Falcone, that made sense. Him going in through the front door because he was, Bruce Wayne at the time. But yeah, I mean,
A lot of the mistakes he makes in this reminds me of I don't know if you ever watched the Batman animated, not the Batman animated series, just the animated series The Batman, where
hold
it's
on.
like he's in like year 2.
That is my favorite Batman cartoon. Period.
Like I love that Batman card, but he makes a lot of stupid mistakes in that show
Yeah.
as a young Batman, which that's what this movie reminded me of. How he just makes all these mistakes, and you're like, oh, he's a young Batman. That's like me watching an animated series. I'm like, oh, he's a young Batman. He's making these mistakes.
The one thing I will say though that I think is different between the two is in the Batman. Batman's usually making these mistakes because he's coming up against these villains for the very first time, and he doesn't quite know how to handle them. Whereas in this movie, yes, but also no, because I think some of the mistakes he's making. Well, let me back up a little bit. In the Batman, the only time I see him making dumb mistakes, majority of them are with the villains. Whereas in this movie, that didn't seem to be the case. I think it makes more sense for him to screw up with the villains because he's a new Batman.
I think this also might have been like his first. It seems like more detective case.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like in everything else, he's kind of just like going after criminals, not doing much detective work because he's not really needed. He's just stopping crime. But this, I feel like, is probably his first big detective thing he's done. I feel like he's just kind of not just now learning how to interrogate.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have much experience with that so far, other than just like knocking out people who are doing crime. He's just like, yeah, I'll just go knock on the front door. I don't see what's so bad about that. And then he realizes that that's kind of a stupid idea.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of just not great at the, I guess, more policing part of it, more secretive part.
See, I guess that's where we're gonna have to agree to disagree because personally, if he's supposed to be a creature of the night and use fear, there's nothing scary about coming through the front door. But now we're getting hung up on just a small one part of the movie, though.
I feel like he's not like at the end of this movie, he's becomes more of a symbol of hope, I guess. Then
Yeah, well, at least that's what he's trying to be now.
that's what he's trying to more than striking fear, but also like being hope for Gotham that there is better.
Yeah, and I don't mind that. So I
kind of like that take, but
yeah,
I don't think it's bad.
But like I said, I just think this movie, in my opinion, was a bit of a dud. Not saying that I am not excited for the sequels and whatever else they're doing. I still think there's potential. It's just this movie itself, I just have so many issues with. I'm optimistic the next ones can be better. I just hope that they will be. So anyways,
I have a lot of hope. Yeah. Especially I personally love Robert Pattinson. I'm not even gonna
Pattinson.
Pattinson sounds right. Pattinson's depiction of I like Batman. I like him as an actor in general. Like I liked him in Tenet. I liked him in The Lighthouse. I think he's a really good actor. I think he definitely will get better as Batman. I have no doubt on that. I think he'll definitely improve over time.
Yeah,
I have a lot of hope. I have a lot of hope for the series.
Well, in my opinion, time will tell. We'll all see. But yeah, just this Batman movie feels like an uncanny valley for me. I don't know why exactly. It just feels so like, I don't know. And I guess it's because, going back to my point, it didn't quite feel like a Batman movie to me. But anyways, so do we have any other points we want to make and talk about quick before we slap a rating on this bad boy?
I think I've hit just about everything I wanted to go over.
Alrighty. Well, before we do that, I'll tell you Josh. Josh gave this movie an 8 out of 10. So, Colin, what do you give it?
I also give it an 8 out of 10.
Okay. I am probably going to give it this is really tough for me because I keep bouncing between a 6 and a 7. It's like the cynical part of me wants to give it a 6, and then the part of me that wants to make people happy wants to give it a 7. And so that's really tough because I can't really pick. I think I'm gonna have to give it a 6 though. Not gonna lie. So
that's fair.
We have 2 8s and a 6. So would that bring our score to about a 7.5?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, 7.5. Friendly Neighborhood podcast score. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. This has been the Friendly Neighborhood Podcast with Kyle Swope and Colin Donato. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at FriendlyNeighborPod. You can also follow me on Twitter at boss_man_swope. That's at boss_man_SWOPE. The song Something in the Way was originally written by Kurt Cobain and covered by yours truly, Kyle Swope, for this episode. Thank you guys all for watching. The Friendly Neighborhood Podcast has been a Lumberjack Media production. God bless you. God bless America. We will catch you next time.